Fears to Fathom Iron Bark Lookout. Fears to Fathom Iron Bark Lookout is the fourth installment in the Fears to Fathom series, a collection of episodic psychological horror games inspired by real-life horror events. Each episode takes a different setting and protagonist, throwing the character or the player into a slow-burning nightmare where the horror is disturbingly realistic. The series thrives on tapping into ordinary fears, the kind that don't rely on supernatural monsters but instead play on paranoia, isolation, and the terrifying realization that you are not alone as you think. Or not as alone as you think, I think I fucked that up. In Ironbark Lookout, the player takes on the role of Jack Nelson, a man assigned to a remote fire lookout tower in Ironbark State Park. His job seems simple enough: spend a few weeks monitoring the forest for wildfires and suspicious activity. The first few nights are quiet, lulling both Jack and the player into a sense of routine, but soon, unsettling things start happening. Things that make it clear Jack is not alone in the wilderness. Strange sounds echo through the night, shadowy figures seem to move in the distance, and cryptic radio messages add to the growing sense of unease. The game builds its horror slowly, making every shift in the environment feel deeply unsettling. There's no immediate jump scare, no obvious monster, just a lingering dread that something is very, very wrong. As Jack investigates, he finds eerie signs that someone or something is stalking him. The game plays on one of the most terrifying aspects of isolation. What if someone is watching you but you can't see them? The story takes its time unraveling, making the player second-guess every noise, every flicker of movement. Notes, objects, and disturbing encounters hint at an unknown presence lurking just outside of Jack's sight. Eventually, things escalate into a full-blown nightmare as Jack is forced into a desperate fight for survival against the relentless intruder. The climax is terrifying, forcing the player to use their wits to evade capture. The Fears to Fathom games have gained popularity for their hyper-realistic horror, and Ironbark Lookout continues this tradition perfectly. Rather than supernatural entities, the game thrives on real-world fears. Stalkers, home invasions, isolation. And then in this case, in this episode, it capitalizes on the horror of being alone in the wilderness with no easy escape. Many players have drawn comparisons between the game and real-life horror stories from park rangers, campers, and fire watchers, who have reported eerie things in the woods, like strange noises or unknown figures and shit like that. Lookout towers themselves have a rich history in both real life and horror fiction. Built in the early 20th century, these towers were crucial in spotting and preventing wildfires, but they were also extremely isolated, with workers spending weeks or even months alone in the middle of nowhere. Many of these towers have since been abandoned, leaving eerie, decaying structures scattered across forests, perfect breeding grounds for urban legends and horror stories. Some of these real-world tales involve mysterious strangers appearing in the middle of the night, or strange carvings found on trees, or radio transmissions that hint at something sinister. And then back to the game, another major reason why the game stands out is its masterful use of environmental storytelling. Instead of relying on cheap jump scares, it immerses players in an atmosphere of paranoia. Small details, like a misplaced item, or a flickering light, or the distant rustling of leaves, become warning signs, creating a constant feeling of unease. The vast, empty forest feels alive with unseen threats, and as the game progresses, the player begins to question whether they're truly alone. The isolation becomes suffocating, and by the time the horror reaches its peak, the player is already mentally exhausted from the creeping dread. Kinitopet. Kinitopet is one of those games that came completely